A warm welcome back onto the program. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. We did tell you before we went on that break that we'll just be taking a look at what the year 2024 represented to a whole lot of Nigerians. Maybe not on the political side, just generally, just a recap of what it was and how we all survived the year 2024. It was a year, should I use the word hardship? A lot of Nigerians experience hardship in so many ways, but of course, we are amongst those that are alive today to tell the story. We have a friend and a big brother in the studio this morning. And we'll just be taking a look at what's the year 2024, how we've survived and how we've dealt with this year, and maybe a little projection into 2025 for those who love to set goals. He's a broadcaster as well as a business coach. Join us this morning as a welcome, Tokunbo Odebomi. Thank you for being here on the program today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so like we always say, Uncle T, I mean 2024, for you, for many, it's a case of finally, this year is coming to an end. So if you'd just like to take a brief look at the year 2024, what were some of the things that for you resonate this year?
The highlights and the lowlights.
Right.
I think it's been quite interesting because obviously, I mean, there's no point going over the devaluation and all of that, which basically is reigned on almost every aspect of our lives. And personally, and because I've also run businesses abroad outside of Nigeria, it's a bit familiar in the sense that we are the year is basically jumped on us, and the realities with the devaluation and all of that is made things a lot more, should I say, realistic, particularly for businesses and for us generally. Because if we look at it, we've had a good time on things like, when petrol was cheap and all of that. And we went to town, we were more or less all over the place with it.
Okay.
Best way to put it, that we're quite a bit wasteful. We traveled to where we're not supposed to go. We had about 4 or 5 different cars for the children and this and that. Basically, taking a look, especially as someone that has been in the British system, where almost everything has to be justified. Every single thing has to be justified. If you call me out to come and fix your plumbing at home, I'll first will charge you call-out charge, then I will now charge you the main fee.
Okay.
Because you're using my time and my expertise. So those are the things, those are the realities that we're facing now. That should I spend this money, or is there a better way of utilizing the resources I have?
Okay.
So those are the realities that I have come to realize. And because of the nature of our lifestyle, that we've lived over the years, we're finding it very, very difficult.
To adjust.
Though it is difficult indeed to all of a sudden survive in a shrinking economy or devalued economy is very tough to be able to, especially when there are no buffers, to prepare people for it. And all of a sudden, subsidy was removed, realities were all over the place, prices of
Commodities,
oil, yes,
right.
and everything is gone through the roof, and I mean through the roof. And sometimes you wonder how people cope. A lot of people will walk far to work, and these are tough times. Yes, I know that quite a lot of us will say that we're going to the end of 2024, but 2025 is not going to bring any flowers at all. I don't think so. It's about how you are able to look inwards and find a way of surviving, the hurricane.
Okay, many have criticized that statement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying that subsidy is gone, and many would have expected that the government would have put some things in place to at least cushion the effect of subsidy removal. Does it appear to you as well, like Mr. President wasn't prepared for the office, or now that you're beginning to see some things, you're hopeful that 2025 would at least be better?
Well, quite honestly, if you ask me, I think the president is in the right direction. It may be very painful, but
It is painful.
it is painful. And I take it, yeah. No, I'm not painting anything good here. It would be painful. Because when China went through it, I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to sound a bit grim now, they lost about 60 million of their citizens. We have to go through the eye of the storm. We have to, whichever way we look at it. Now, the issues will be that you should have cushioned or prepared us for it. But if you ask me, the years of impunity, so many years of impunity, past governments, all those years, there will come to a time, if we really want to secure the future, there's no other way. There's no other way to it. And as bad as it may sound, the reality is the fact that some will survive. The strong will survive. The strong may not survive. The weak may survive. The weak may not even, have any hope. But the reality is the fact that, look, the other day I interviewed, we had an interview to employ some people at work, and it dawned on us that, the poor lady is going to use 70% of the offer on transportation. In other words, your take-home pay can't even take you home by bus. So the person comes to work, what's the incentive for her to be productive?
Right.
What's the incentive? So as an employer, you need to look inwards and look at, do I really, truly need you 10 hours a day or 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day? So it's coming down to that reality where you need to take a look at how to truly run your business, streamline your management system so that you can, plug wastages, so that you can, basically look at how productive you can get.
Isn't that where technology can come in? Remote?
Well, yes. Well, that's definitely. I mean, these days you have to look at how you can leverage technology to be able to do quite a whole lot of things. But the truth of the matter is the fact that there's still that human input that you require. As I always will say that AI will not take our jobs, but people without AI will lose their jobs with people with AI.
Okay,
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I like the fact that you've brought in the issue of employment and what employees need to do at the moment. And I mean, that is your own, you are an employer of labor, and that is one you. And so if you also thought about, the person you were going to employ who was going to use almost 70% of a take-home on transportation, and that brings me to the larger picture. This year, we had, negotiations back and forth on the minimum wage with government at the federal level, and some states still yet to comply. And then, so this again brings us to the issue of cutting wastages, plugging the loopholes. How is that possible when you are a large employer of labor and you're also thinking, I can't let those people go because if I let them go, what's the alternative? And so, as a government, how else can government also look at this issue of employment, this issue of is the pay really taking people home, or is the pay really enough, for all of the things that we're talking about now? If an individual can maneuver around this, what are the options for government here? Because again, you look at government being the largest employer of labor, and many will say, oh, wait a minute, you're all going to work, what are you doing?
Quite honestly, I think government too must shift its position and look at, you know, resources that can reduce so much labor wastage, because it's a no-brainer that government is, you know, the labor system within government is not well optimized.
When you say it's not well optimized, what are we talking about?
Well, you see, an average civil servant comes to work and spends maybe even 6-7 hours at work, but what has he achieved? And do you need such a bloated, you know,
Workforce.
So government needs to be creative in itself. Government needs to look at, take for instance, how they can, yeah, you know, everybody, you know, people will always would argue that, okay, government is not supposed to be reducing workforce, but it's going to get there. It's going to get there that, look, whatever you put in is what you get, you know, and at the end of the day, each and everybody must justify the seat you're sitting on.
Okay.
You must justify, yes, indeed, this is my quota that I'm contributing, you know, and government too must be seen to be encouraging technology to drive efficiency.
Okay.
You know, take for instance, post-COVID and the early days of Zoom and all this online stuff. I would have expected government to have jumped in, you know, to even have their own stuff like Lagos meets and stuff. Because when you do that, what you now do is basically you are encouraging people to leverage more on technology.
Right, at the local level.
Yes, and that will reduce transportation. I mean, that will reduce
The cost on transportation.
cost of transportation, loads on our roads. So many things will come out of it. So government must be seen to lead this new lifestyle.
Okay.
They must be seen to do that. I think what they've done so far is basically just sit on the fence and see how things go. Then they support in a very lukewarm
manner. So
manner.
government must drive this initiative.
So they must drive the initiative. We must move from those days of, okay, I'm government, you know, lord it over us and do, you know, what is convenient all the time. We have to lead the conversation. You know, we have to basically partake in the narrative. And it's too obvious for each and everyone for us to see. I mean, look, my business, I've looked at the reality of the fact that, you know, some of the equipment we normally would hire out for events and all of that. We haven't, because it's non-essential stuff. And so we had no right to increase our prices.
Okay.
So what we decided to do was to go on that avenue where you produce a lot of volumes so that you can meet up, you know, your cost expectation. But at the same time, you know, the client must be seen to be getting
value for money.
Yes, double the value they're having. Then, you know, so a little tweak here and there, you'll be able to target your main, you know, people that can really afford you. And people that, you know, are still within that middle of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid, you have a little product for them, like you know what the milk companies have done, where they reduced products into
the sachet.
Yeah,
And even the sachets are also in sizes.
In fact, the sachet is 10 times bigger than the content. All right. So you must be seen to be giving. Yes, you know, we call it tricks in business, but that's the reality. The reality is that you must make your chicken look like a cow.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. Earlier you painted a picture of somebody you wanted to employ and how he or she is going to spend 70% of our income on transports. This CNG initiative of the federal government, do you think that if it's well driven, it's going to change the narrative in terms of cost of transportation and of course save the environment from pollution?
First, we must look at why we're going into it, which is cost savings to everyone, and everyone is jumping around that, oh, this will save. I was in one of those taxis, Uber, Bolt, and all of it, I can't remember in particular. And the guy just fixed his own and was going and raving about it. That it was really good. I was quite excited for it. But there's always that thought in my mind that, okay, now that CNG looks good and everybody is jumping on it, the cost of gas, would it go up? Because, you see, for me...
Because of the demand?
Government too. You know, we're all traders. Government, they're all traders as well. So at the end of the day, yeah, you know, all over the world, government find a way of making money, particularly in this part of the world where we're very anti-tax, you know. So government will find a fine way of making their money of those opportunities. So my issue, the CNG bit is good and great, you know. First, we need to look at the safety of it, because almost everybody is jumping at it. So government needs to control that to ensure that, you know, safe installation and all of that, which has been the issue everybody is fearing in terms of the, you know, the safety side of things. But then again, you know, I would want guarantees from government that, look, okay, gas would not also go the way diesel has gone, you know, and petrol.
Right.
So it's great, it's fantastic, but let's wait for the cards from the government.
All right. I know that, of course, this year has been topsy-turvy, not only in Nigeria, and because you also have a bit of what happens, I'll use the UK as an example here, and then, of course, UK is not also very far off from Nigeria, and so it's been, you know, up and down. What are some of those things that, you know, you can point as, you know, a global experience? Money is universal, and it's been a tough year, both in Nigeria and in the UK. And if you take a look at, you know, what prices of items, basic commodities used to be, they're not where they used to be then. And so when you talk about cutting costs, adjusting to the system, I mean, it's also something that's happened in the UK this year. So if you look at how Nigerians, would you say that indeed we've been forced, the economy has forced us to readjust? And is there really a box that we're still thinking around, or at the moment, because everybody keeps thinking you need to think out of the box. Is there really a box that we're still thinking around, or at the moment it's a case of, you know, we'll just do what works for you?
I think basically, I mean, I've always said it, that if you're going to think outside of the box, so who needs the box? So let's get rid of the box.
Then the box should actually go.
Let's smash it. Okay. So my take, quite honestly, is the fact, you know, I mentioned it in my opening statement that, you know, Nigerians, you know, all together, we're all guilty. We all live above our means. We all live above our means. I mean, look, a typical guy, maybe, you know, living in Agege. I'm not saying Agege is
it's just an example.
Rundown anything. It's just an example. Like, look, one of my guys over the weekend, we were on site working. I had complained about how he will come to work. So this guy turned up wearing a Louis Vuitton trousers, which I know is fake. Do you understand? So that's our mentality. You know, our mentality is that I better pass your neighbor and all of those things. So we all have to be the same neighbors, you know, and there's that reality check. We all like to live above our means. My life, I've never worn any designer clothes because I don't believe in paying extra money for your name. I don't believe in it. So those are things that we must first start living with. Even that guy down there wants to still give an impression that he's wearing Louis Vuitton. And what's wrong with regular trousers?
Okay.
You know. So those are the realities we must wake up to. We must wake up to the fact that, look, things are tough. Yes, they are tough. I mean, my son is in from the UK, and obviously, you know, we use electricity as normal and all of that, AC and all of that. And you know, you run an AC for half a day, you probably spend about 50,000 on it. I can't explain that to him all the time. Oh, the fan is quite good this afternoon, and you know, the air is better.
So
the
air quality is better.
So let's work with fan. No, you must, do you understand? So the reality must be something that we almost, take seriously and, live within our means. You have to cut it to your
Sorry,
size.
a quick one would about that would be, days ago, Mr. President had said, switch off your lights to consume electricity. I remember the power minister had also said, you don't have to use the AC all of the time. Everybody criticized him. And so if we're talking about cuts and cost, and then we have this coming from our leaders, our minister and our president, are they justified?
Of course.
Jibola, you heard that.
No,
so
that was going to be my question.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, look, you have a TV station here. You must, service your equipment and all of that. But you now start looking at the content that is earning you money. I mean, I've come this morning, yeah, had a conversation and all of that. But what part of my content that is paying for the energy? Because look, transportation, energy, those are two things that are really affecting businesses. So at the end of the day, my office, even the past 4 years, my office will always run on solar. We've never bought a diesel generating system. Generator. We've never. I don't know about diesel. I've never used diesel in my office. When light goes, even me as you understand, as the MD, I use fan. So my staff can come to me.
And say, I want to run the AC. What for?
It's unsustainable.
Right.
Is unsustainable. So at the end of the day, we need to cut down all those things. The other day, someone told me that, I try to wake up about 9 a.m. and that he works through the night. He wakes up between 9 and 10. And by the time he wakes up, he goes to the bathroom and all of that. He's missed breakfast, which is good for his finances. And he now concentrates on lunch. Do you understand? So, I mean, look, everybody's reality, you must face your reality. Because those handouts are not there anymore. I mean, look at it. People go to petrol stations now, you buy fuel of 10,000, and you're looking at your fuel gauge more than the road. So those are things that we need to, we have to wake up to those realities and cut our costs. We have to. You have to cut your costs.
Okay, talking about checking our realities now, should we also extend the same thing to our leaders? We see their convoys, we see their luxurious lifestyle, and yet they're telling the people to tighten their belts.
I don't want to sound very controversial on your station. Let's put it like that. But you have hit it on the head. If they're asking us to cut our costs, and this minimum wage is still an issue for some states, then they must be saying to cut their costs. Because just take a look at their chambers, it's hardly a full one. It's a part-time job, for goodness sake. It's a part-time job. And I mean, nobody needs to explain to anyone that to become a senator, you know how much it will cost you. Because they know the lodges that that we know. What about the ones that we don't know? So it's become like an ambition, like a professional ambition to aim for, to become a politician. So at the end of the day, he has to get to that. Because the truth of the matter, either they like it or not, the truth of the matter is the fact that, things continue the way they are, the people will come for you. They'll come for you. When people are pushed to the wall, they'll go in the other direction. They would. So, look, the way things are going, government needs to bring in, things that will cushion the effect for them, even if you're asking us to, cut our costs, live live within our means and all of that.
Was that what triggered the End Bad Governance protest?
Of course we know that. People are crying out. And we don't want a situation where things get so bad and if it continues without any creative, measures put in place, it will come to that time that there's some certain areas we won't be able to drive through with a big car. So we probably will leave our cars and all be faking that, okay, I can only afford bicycles. because people will come eat you up. He would. That's the reality. And if anybody is thinking that I'm sounding a bit controversial about it, just go and study where this has happened, all over the world. Because it will get to the time, this one is complaining, this one is complaining, and everyone is feeling the pinch, and wait a minute, they'll say, oh, wait a minute, some people are driving some, fuel guzzling, four-wheel cars all around, and just pleasuring themselves with our, with our national cake.
From what you've mentioned, I know that you really don't want to do politics this morning, but just as an aside will be the facts that, you've called out governments generally, but can we narrow it down to state governors? Because oftentimes a lot of people call on government at the federal level, but then we have governors, we have local government chairmen. Is this the time, to start directing our, not anger now, but our questions to the governors as well, to be more responsive to the yearnings of their people and, not just to make this a federal affair?
As I say, all politics
is local.
Yeah. So my take on it is the fact that I don't see people leaving Lagos to go and be, fighting anybody in Abuja.
Right.
Because everybody in their local steads, and this one would trigger that, and there's a whole lot of issues that we'll have all over the place. So at the end of the day, it's all down to what your local person is doing, what the local government is doing, because the level of accountability is still, is still some bit of a mirage, given the kind of society we run. So it's going to be down to the fact that, yes, your governor is a person that, is the first stage that you deal with. So the local governments and all of that, their level of accountability must be something that everybody would, should be open to questioning.
Okay, we cannot talk about 2024 without talking about the tax reform bills. We have seen Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, different fora trying to explain the merit of these tax reform bills, yet a particular side of the country is kicking against it. Having gone through the tax reform bills, is it a plus for Nigeria?
It is a plus for Nigeria, but I also understand the anxiety of the certain, the northern part of Nigeria, because no doubt about it, they obviously feel that they will be hard hit by it, and which also comes down to what we had talked about earlier, that yes, indeed, everybody will be crying for their, for their constituencies, but the level where the North is in terms of literacy and in terms of, business, society, lifestyles and all of that, we know for a fact that the North is still, not at par with particularly the South. And so they would obviously worry the more about it. But if they worry the more about it, they also should be asking the questions that, you had most of the political leadership in this country. So what have your leaders done to your environment? So those are the kind of things, the questions that, a regular person should be asking. Okay. Your local person, that, look, what's in it for me? Because at the end of the day, Nigeria is not supposed to take decisions based on the, on some certain factors that, okay, this particular side of the country is like this, which indeed, is something for the government to take a look at large and have like a program, to drive. But then we also look at a situation that, okay, if this government means, is quite active and is very serious about taking things forward, what about the next government coming in? So our issues are not, our issues sometimes I see it as a bit, it's quite premature to predict what's going to happen. So my take is the fact that irrespective of what's still going to happen, the government should drive their policies to the very end. he would kick up quite a lot of issues, but I'm sure that, politics, they'll find a way of, of measuring things out. How they're going to do it, quite honestly, I don't know. But,
But
the tax reforms on paper, it looks good, but any project is as good as the effect it has on its citizens.
Right. So implementation will matter a lot.
While it is, I mean, look, we've all known that, even VAT, most of the VAT we're talking about is, I think Lagos contributes over 80% of it, if I'm right. So we now need to take a look at things from that direction, that why is it so lopsided? And indeed, yes, they are Nigerians, and you need to consider the issues that they are likely to face. And once the programs are there, to deal with it, then the issue would now be looking at is, the politics and the politricks behind it. Because, for every politics there's politricks. It's never straightforward.
It's never straightforward.
So, those are areas where they really need to look beyond just, their myopic, they need to look beyond just what is on ground and look at what is good for the entire country.
All right, before we take your projection into 2025, I know that usually this time of the year, just taking your memory lane now, Obalende Suya would have been, breaking pallets at this point in time. But now Obalende Suya has been rested, and you do events management now. But if you take a look at, what your brand represented at that time and today, do you still regret not, resting that part of your business?
Look, when I was running Obalende Suya, quite honestly, I was building a brand because, and this is me being honest, this is the first time I'm going to talk about it. I wasn't really having a fulfillment doing it.
Oh, wow.
No, because I wake up every morning and I keep saying to myself, what's creative about selling suya? Though, yes, look, it was really good, and the way it was packaged, it was a lot more creative than just selling soya, because we made it as a meal rather than a snack. In Nigeria, it's a snack.
It's a snack.
You just go down there, buy it, and you still go and eat dinner, or after dinner you go back. But we saw an opportunity to do that, and for ever so often, I am there thinking that, I have quite a whole lot of things I still want to do. Because, and I thought, I must get back to my first love, communication. I must do it. But my children are looking at it, they're rebranding it. Okay. And quite honestly, I don't want to be the last thing I do on earth to be selling suya. But doing it in the UK was fantastic.
Right.
It was great. We achieved even beyond my imagination of what it was going to be. But I knew that because, with business, you have to be creative all the time, and it leads you to a new level all the time. It takes you to another level all the time. And so doing it, it was fantastic. I loved it. But I was just, for me, I've always believed that with communication, you can run any business. And if you look at the business we run here as well, it's actually the one that is also taking me front page is even the business, my wife's business, which is in the safety sector.
Right.
And I just was joking with her that, look, I'll make more money in this thing. Because you see, with communication, that's why I love this, our profession. With communication, let me say it publicly, we can peddle abstracts into substance. So, so doing Obalende Suya was great. It was cultural. He gave us, a new name in the UK, and I'm talking about Nigerians. And it was fantastic. And I'm always on my children that, look, you do it your own way. Okay. Because I've had it my way, and I wanted to do a few other things. So I just want to I just want to do something
But
else.
would you rather they keep the name if they want to revive?
Oh,
or?
yeah. No. You can, I mean, the name is still ringing. You know, it's still ringing cash, actually, even without the grill.
Even years after.
Yes. No. Almost everywhere I go,
they still resonate with the name of
I name drop it.
Okay. So valid this year.
A brand is remains a
brand.
brand. Is what people talk about it that makes it the real brand that it is.
Okay, for me, one more question before you go. Growing up in Lagos and celebrating Christmas in Lagos, what was it like for you compared to what we have now?
I mean, look, growing up in Lagos, I feel very bad about it, how Christmas has turned out to what it has been now. Yes, Christmas then, it was, growing up in Lagos, it was commercialized, but it had that, that sense of family values to it. That's when you get a change of clothes and, you buy the shoes for for Christmas and all of that. It was great. It was fantastic. It was a family, family-oriented stuff. But these days, even the Western, it's the Western nation that would, tell us what to do, and which comes down to communication as well, where we would tell you how to think, what to buy, what Christmas should mean, and all of that. But a lot of people have been calling me, even before I came on this program, getting texts, what are you giving me for Christmas? And I made up my mind some 3 years ago that, look, I'm not giving anybody anything in Christmas. The only people I want to concentrate on in Christmas, I'm doing some gifts, will be charities, which is the essence of Christmas in itself. It's about love, it's about giving, sharing to the underprivileged, throwing all these big parties, I don't know about it, because at the end of the day, you're going to invite people that don't need the food, whereas we still have quite a lot of people within our communities that can't, particularly given this situation that we're going through, that can't afford even a square meal. So those are, my thoughts, during Christmas, that look, and that's why I keep preaching that, look, let's look at humanity more than the religion we all, because at the end of the day, look, we all go to church or go to our different faiths and the rest of it, and all we're thinking of is, oh, the more I give to God, the more God should bless me. It's not a money doubler. God is not a money doubler.
He's not a doubler.
The people that really, truly need our help, let's reach out to them. Let's share with them. Let's share the little we have with them.
Okay.
Then that's my own natural law, that yes, you do unto others, and you get it. You give to get.
All right, that's where we'd have to leave this conversation this morning. Thank you so much, Tokunbo Odebumi, for finding time to be here with us on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll take a quick break. The conversation returns shortly.